What's up? It's Who's Still in It Wednesday, I guess, for the United States of America, the presidential election. And this is a part of the series where I read the post-its that were on the Union Square subway station after Donald J. Trump's win in 2016. I think he's going to win 2020. So part of me reading this series is because I think it's a done deal for Donald Trump. So I'm just wondering what's going to happen in this election. I'm still kind of interested, and I'm more interested with what people thought about last election and what they thought about Trump's entire first term with the whole Trump train to Magaland, which is my contribution to this post-it wall. And other people were concerned about other things on the post-it wall, and they put up their concerns. And I have this thought that people literally mean figuratively. And especially when they're talking about politics, and especially when Americans are talking about politics, some things they literally mean figuratively. So what did people mean by posting on that wall, whatever they posted on that wall? If they literally meant those things, how would they behave? What would they still think today? If they figuratively meant things, that's subjective. So I'm trying to think, okay, what could they figuratively have meant? And then I'm also going to be explaining to you why I posted the Trump train to Magaland is for everyone. Okay, getting into the video. Okay, so before I get into it, a quick correction that I talked about in yesterday's posts. I posted 2 videos yesterday and I said I was going to post today, and I'm posting today. I said it was Super Tuesday, which is one of the big voting times for the Democratic Party and also the Republican Party, but it's rather uncontested. I think Donald Trump is running uncontested. I saw something like he got 1.9 million votes or something in Texas. So he's doing it uncontested. And the Democratic Party, or the Democrats, have a different nomination system than the Republican Party or the Republicans. So right now, the Democratic Party or the Democrat Party, I need to be sure which one it is. Democratic. They write them in different ways. So they're going through their own situations to nominate someone who runs. And I've talked about this before, where this is not necessarily a situation where it's kind of like if you have the Super Bowl, if you have the Super Bowl in American football, or just a sport game, like a match, routine in soccer and football and basketball, whatever. You have the actual finals. When you go out there, it's one team versus another team based on certain rules. Whoever scores more wins and gets in, and etc., etc. But before they actually get there, there is a competition in the team itself to see who's going to actually be starting, who's actually going to win that position to go out there. Think about something like the Olympics. You go to the actual Olympics, and there actually is somebody representing that country to actually compete against other people in another country for that same gold medal. But before that, there's Olympic trials in the country itself where people try to get to be their representative for that country based on whatever rules their own Olympic committee and things like that might have for that whole situation. So that's what's going on here. So some people might not understand why the Democrats doing what they're doing in that situation. But a correction, I talked about how there was 20 votes up. It's Super Tuesday is what they call it because a lot of states come in, and it wasn't 20 states up. 20 states have turned in. I think there's been 2 caucuses and 18 primaries, and so in total, so there was 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking at 270towin.com that you guys can check out yourselves as well. It's Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina had come in before. That was 5, and then now there was 15 up on Super Tuesday that they were up for running. And another correction. Sorry, when I said 20 for Super Tuesday, it wasn't 20 for that. It's 20 total, and then there's still the ones left. And I also mentioned there was 4 people up. I mentioned that there was Joe Biden, who turned out to be the biggest winner from Super Tuesday with their big comeback and things like that. Bernie Sanders, who took California, which is a big major state, so he's still jazzed about that. Elizabeth Warren did horribly. She just some people are calling for her to drop out, and there's some people more in the progressive wing of the Democrat Party who are a bit consternated that she's still holding on to that situation. And then there's what's the name, Mike Bloomberg, who he spent between 500 million to 700 million. I just saw someone say the only place he won was American Samoa, and that's a caucus that happened there, and that's probably because of advertising, and advertising has an effect in some places. But this is pretty much the only place, one of the few places he didn't actually visit. And they said something like the gross national product, the GDP, the gross domestic product per year of Samoa is something like 650 something million. So if he spent 700 million, he could have essentially, I mean, theoretically bought the country or figuratively bought the territory rather than actually spending all this money in all these places. That's the only place he's won so far. So he got that, and the correction, instead of this 5 people, there was also Tulsi Gabbard, who actually got a delegate, and she might qualify for the next debate. I don't know. There was some debates where she said, "I'm not even showing up. This is she's not been supportive of the system, the way things are going, and so she might show up." And I missed Tulsi Gabbard, and for some of you out there, that's Mama Tulsi to you. You might be a little pissed off at me for this one, but anyway, so she's still up there. She's the one running. So there's 5 people still running for the Democrats, and we'll see. I still think Bernie has a chance. It might go to contestant convention, even though Donna Brazile went on some Republican show, some Fox News Republican show. Same thing. I mean, we know like most of the mainstream media is the audiovisual department of the Democrat Party. So is Fox News kind of the audiovisual department of the Republican Party? I'm not quite sure. Well, anyway, she was on there and she was just saying, what are people talking about this? You need to go to hell. She was very pissed off, even though she was involved in some shenanigans during the last election when she was still working with CNN, something about questions being given to Hillary Clinton. But then even with that kind of situation, I was thinking, are you guys serious about this? Do you really think there isn't an ingrained system where people know that we're coming to you CNN, we're coming to you NBC, we're coming to you ABC, we're coming to you PBS, we're letting these certain people host it? Because even if it's not directly, like you give us the questions, they know. People understand these are the select kind of questions that are going to be asked so we can prep, you can work with our teams. It might not be a direct exchange where like the anchor is calling the delegates themselves. I mean, the delegates not talking to the anchors, and the anchors are not talking to the candidates, the people running for the position directly. But there's ways that people understand these are the questions you can ask, these are the questions you can't ask. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to keep having these contracts. That's the way these things work. It's not incestuous, but they're not parasitical. It's a collective. These guys work together. It's you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's like a Portuguese man of war, that little kind of jellyfish that's made up of different parts. Well, anyway, so this has been a long intro. Now I'm going to get into the actual reading of the posts. As I mentioned, I tried to keep these between 10 and 15 minutes. That's what I'm aiming for. So let me see how many of the actual posts I can get to in this video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you still think Bernie Sanders has a chance? Do you think Joe Biden's going to get out there? And Joe Biden is having some flubs, and I think Joe Biden has been a politician long enough and aware enough of the system that he understands what the state is. So I don't necessarily think of him as a person who's being used. He's used people. He understands the system. I don't necessarily think he's a nice person, but seeing what's happening to him, it's not too surprising because I think Hillary Clinton was actually physically ill and somehow compromised during the last election. Remember that time she disappeared for like 16 days or something, which is very unusual when you're running for president in this kind of situation, while Donald Trump seemed to be in a different state every day and things like this. And they still had her out there. They had that infamous thing of her kind of stumbling and being kind of shoveled into the car by the 9/11 memorial, where at the footprints of the former World Trade Center type of things. That's a visual. So I understand that these people can be pushed out there. And something about themselves, like, no, I'm going to keep driving, I'm going to keep pushing, I'm going to keep doing this. I have to do this for my party, or they find ways to do this. But seeing the flubs that he's making, the mental lapses that he's making, I can imagine if this was Donald Trump doing this, I'd be like, oh, he's feeble-minded, he shouldn't be out here. But people just cheer and laugh along with the things that Joe Biden is doing, and just imagining Joe Biden on the stage next to Trump and seeing the comparison of these two men and two old men, yes, but seeing the different vitality that they have, the different rapport that they have with the crowds and things like that would be a stark difference. And then, of course, curmudgeon-y old Bernie Sanders. It'd be a strange situation. Well, anyway, this has been a long intro. Let me get into the actual reading. Hey, so as I mentioned, I'm trying to keep these between 10 and 15 minutes, and since I'm here, I took a long time on the intro. I shall just do a bonus one after this. I'm going to read enough to post 2 of them, so I'll post this one with however many I can read under that 15-minute limit, and then post another one that's around 10 minutes. Okay, so the first one. we don't need Trump. And then this is Faye plus Faye and Ja. Is this like somebody signing who they are? I don't know Spanish. I learned French when I was a kid. I knew French. I was born in France, so I understood French when I was a kid. Then when I got older, I lost the French. I took some of it in school. Then I went to I went to Italy later on to finish my university, do my postgrad, and I remember trying to pick up the Italian, and in my head I was like, oh yeah, I think I'm getting it, and then it was actually calling back the French from behind. So I know there's something with the Latin mixing together, the Latin languages or the Latin-based languages, French, Italian, and Spanish have a lot of crossover. And I thought like fea. There seems to be an accent on that e, or is it fija? I don't know. This handwriting. So I thought this might have been some kind of insult, but I don't want to be like, you're one of those racist Trump supporters thinking these are people who are Hispanic and don't like Trump. But anyway, so I don't know what that is. Is that Fe and Ya? Is it somebody signing? Is it two people? Said we. I guess maybe it could be two people, Fe and Ya, because we don't need Trump. Now maybe they're talking about just Fe and Ya came together. They were walking through the metro. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's post something. Let's share it together, and maybe it's just a sign of the names. So we don't need Trump. Yeah, I don't think the state is as needed. I have an anarcho-capitalist background, coming from the non-aggression principle, which is the base of that. Is how I approach the world. I approach my reality tunnel, and the state itself is defined by having a monopoly of violence over any given area. And part of my main support of Trump was increasing people's interaction with the state and not just accepting the general media complex. Like I said, the audiovisual department of the Democrat Party and Fox News being on the flip side and doing some audiovisual stuff for the Republican Party, and having people into this mystique and idea that the state is this benevolent being. It's not. There actually are a lot of things that you can do without it. So whether you have people who hate Trump so much that they start thinking about ways to do things without the state, to me that's a positive thing. Although a lot of people have said, we don't need Trump. They said, we need the state, but we don't need Trump in control of the state. But now people can think, look, think about what you're thinking about. This institution that you're setting up, why are you so afraid of Trump running it if you think the institution itself is valid and strong? If you think this is a valid and strong, capable thing, why are you saying that the Russians were able to come and take it? So these are the questions that are being brought up by Trump coming out there. It makes me have the ability to make this video and have some of you actually read this and watch this, and then maybe we can have some conversations and start talking about some of these issues. So we don't need Trump. Literally, yeah, I don't think you need the government. I don't think you need government and state are different things. I am supportive of governance of things, of laws and rules and organizations. But the state is above that. The state is an institution that sets laws and rules and enacts governance that they are not subject to. They are they're exempt from these things they hold everybody else responsible for. Simple things that the state does are just because the state does it, but if anybody else does it, they would be considered bad. This is why I say it's like a religion. Most religions have gods and deities that do things that if the people, the humans who are subject to them do those things would be considered evil, but if the gods do it, if the deities do it, they're okay. And you have this class like that when you look at the state. So we don't need Trump. Okay, yeah. So I don't think these people might. I suspect if you found Faye and Ja, wherever they are, they probably would still agree that they don't need Trump. And in general, depends on what you mean for. And for me, I thought, yes, we needed somebody like Trump to stand up to the establishment, to the way things are doing. He's somebody who's coming in. I'll finish this off with this one. This from Bill Whittle, the Bill Whittle Network. You should check it out. He has this one thing about Trump. He says Trump is not necessarily going to save the United States of America. He's a constitutionalist. He loves the United States of America. He's has some libertarian leanings, but he's very strong on the Constitution, very pro-America. And he says this thing. He says, Trump isn't going to save them. If this is a situation where the United States of America is a body, is a being, is a life form that's hemorrhaging from the leg or something, let's say it's a human being, it's hemorrhaging from the leg, then Trump would be like the tourniquet. He would be somebody to stabilize that fatal wound. And then now the rest of the people will give other people who are willing and capable and able to do this, to be able to come by and stabilize that patient and then rehab that patient and have that patient back up on its feet again. And I agree with this kind of encapsulation of looking at what Trump has done in this situation. I think he's done it in the first term. I think he's going to get another second term to do it. And I'll leave a link to a video where I've talked about this in more length to why I'm supportive of Trump and why I think he's already been successful and why I think he'll be more successful in the future. Okay, so that's it for this video. As I said, I'm going to post another one right after this. That's going to be about 10 minutes, just getting straight into the reading of these things.